Hi, this is Robin the Generous Stitcher, sunset in Oregon. All right, this is Robin the Generous Stitcher, and I'm filming a little bit earlier than I expected because I got a busy weekend and a busy week, and it's Saturday, and sorry, I feel like my nose is not running, but it feels like it wants to. It's this cold air we have out here, like a temperature inversion. It's super cold. It was a little windy today, so I was out there, and I can see in the camera I did not get a sunburn, which is good. But I was out there. We had my No Kings group is protesting in Woodburn every Saturday afternoon, and this is the first time I've actually been able to go out for about a month. But now I know, they changed their schedule. I was available one of the days, but they'd switched days, so I didn't get to do that week. But anyway, now I know the schedule. I can be out there more often. The spouse was off today, so he joined me, and that was nice because I asked him, I said, have you ever been to a protest before? And he says, I went to an Iraqi war protest, and this would have been a long time ago. And I mean, way before I met him. And he's like, but I was mainly just an observer. Okay. So anyway, we met some new people and saw some old friends, and it was an okay day. And then so what I'm gonna do, I've been putting this off and putting this off, so I'm gonna do it right up front, which is kind of unusual. Usually people save this sort of content for the end, but I'm going to do it right now because otherwise I'll forget. So I had finished Plum Street Sampler Winter Blessings, and there's the picture again, Winter Blessings, and I'd finished this and then paid to get it fully finished as a pillow for my friend Sharon. And originally I had started doing this because Salem Air Stitchers did small exchanges. Well, now that we're bigger, we started doing something a little different. We do Advent gifts, at least the last 2 years for Christmas. The first year for Christmas, they did do a small exchange, and there were 7 people at our potluck, and I was the 7th person, and I didn't have an exchange to swap because I didn't quite know about it, and also if I did know about it, I was like, I don't have time to do it. And so anyway, so I started doing this thinking I was going to do a swap with Salem Air Stitchers. Then our friend Sharon and her husband decided to, her son bought a house, a vacation home in Michigan, back where he lives, and she and her husband decided to move to Fort Wayne, Indiana, so they could be closer to their family. And so we miss her. We Zoom with her almost every week, and she's going to be on the Zoom for the Acorns and Threads Gathering of Nuts, which happens tomorrow. And when I post this video, it will be after that has happened, and I will film a bit of a recap of it probably on Monday night. So, because I'll be way too tired tomorrow. So, unfortunately, I will not have stitched, it's getting close to the end of January, I will not have stitched 31 days. I was really on track to do it, but yesterday I worked late, and I just sat in front of the computer and watched. I can't say exactly I was doom scrolling, but I was watching some news, but then I started watching a mortician's channel that I've been curious about, and it was interesting. And she's actually in Minnesota, but her content was filmed months or weeks before the current issues in that city. So yeah, so I will hopefully have stitched 30 days this month. And so I have been, oh, and so getting distracted again. So Winter Blessings is a giveaway. Don't say giveaway or anything in the comments, just say plum, Plum. Leave a comment with the word plum, and I will pick you and try to, contact you when I announce the winner. Well, keep flapping. That's very distracting. I'm sorry. I talk with my hands. So I will be picking the winner from the comments, and then I will announce it sometime next month. Depending on what the first video in February is like, I might announce it at the end of February. And then I will do the things to make the contact, and then I will mail it to you. So some Flosstuber that I know, I can't remember who it is, but I was kind of surprised. She started this, and I think it's half finished by now. It's not a big piece. It's only 61 by 66, and it was filmed. It was stitched on 36 count Saltbush by Fox and Rabbit. I stitched it on 28 count Lugana by Atomic Ranch, and the color was Vapors, which is not as beige as this. Vapors is more like a white with sort of gray mottle, and the current dye lot of it is a lot of gray mottle. The stuff that I used looked really kind of like white, like off-white, white, kind of like snowstorm clouds or something. So yeah, and I did all of the called for. I want to make sure, yes, I did use the called for that. So yeah, so I used all the called for. There was one that I didn't use the called for. I used DMC for because I misplaced the called for. I think I'd actually bought it, or maybe I kitted this up and they didn't have that in stock. So when I got to the end and I realized, oh, wait a minute, I don't have this color green in Classic Colorworks, so I used the DMC. So anyway, so yeah, it's Weeks, Classic Colorworks, and DMC are the called fors. And they do have a DMC conversion, so that you don't have to buy specialty threads if you don't want to and just want to use your DMC and stash. Okay, so yeah, shoo. That's been hanging over my head for about 6 months. I've wanted to put that in a giveaway. And then the other thing I'm going to show is I bought a piece of fabric in my curated cross stitch collection for the Jeanette Douglas piece that we're doing as a group in Salem Air Stitchers. And I will not show that this time. I will show it when I talk about Jeanette Douglas and show progress on that. It is not something I'm going to be stitching on right away, because for my Jeanette Douglas piece, I'm going to have different pages will be different colors of fabric, so it's going to be very multicolor, colorful. And I did a floss toss and picked the thread that I'm going to be stitching on the front and back covers. And the front and back covers will be in Weeks 32 count linen, watermelon, which is like maybe the color of my stand. Ooh, I can't, there. Now I'm pointing at the stand. So it's going to be, and the color I picked for it, everybody was like, oh, that is so beautiful. And it's very non-traditional. and colorful, because I like that. And speaking of color, my husband and I, over the long weekend for MLK, I said, why don't we like take a day trip on Sunday and get out of the four walls and just have a relaxing day. And he thought that was a great idea. This has been about the hardest month I've had since 2014 or something. It's been bad. And I told my boss, because we meet every week to go over stuff. And so Friday morning, we meet Friday morning before lunch, and I was like, okay, yes, this is the second busiest month of my work, but I've been getting everything I need to do done for the week done by Friday, end of day Friday. I'm keeping up with my work fine. In fact, I've wondered if I should ask you for more work because I'm doing so well. However, there's been a lot of personal stuff going on. The health issue my husband has is not resolved. There was an incident in my extended family that was sort of like, boy, as somebody said to me Thursday, that wasn't on your bingo card. And I'm like, yeah, it wasn't on my lifetime bingo card. So, a lot of things. And then, of course, we all know without saying, it's like, how do you say it without saying it? We all know what's going on in our country, in the world. And that's always there. So Sunday, we went to Onsen Hot Tubs, and I will put their website in my description. They are a spa and hot tub. They may even sell saunas too, I'm not sure. They sell those, and they also have a complex of about 10 hot tubs, and they've added saunas. Ooh, that's what I need. That's what I want to rent. I love saunas. And you can even rent a hot tub plus a sauna combo for an hour. So they rent an hour out to two people for $35. And I think last year, the year before, it was only $30, but a $5 increase. I mean, and I think 40 years ago when I was a student and I first discovered them as a student at University of Oregon, I think then it was maybe only $20 for one or two people. It's kind of a two-person thing, but I don't think they would say no to one person saying, I'm going to go for an hour. And so we went to the hot tubs, and we didn't go there first. We went to this Banh Mi, which is a restaurant on Broadway in downtown Eugene. This is Eugene, Oregon. And we had banh mi sandwiches and lemongrass tofu. That's what we get. Extra jalapenos for Mark. And then I basically take the jalapenos out of my sandwich and give them to him. I like the spice, but I don't really like to eat peppers per se. Yeah, I don't mind like them ground up and put in things if they're not bell peppers. Like the hotter ones I can tolerate, the milder ones are not good for my system. I'm weird like that. So anyway, the second thing we did, because we had about 45 minutes or so before we had to be at the hot tub, and we went to Smith Family Books, which is a used and new bookstore, and they have a campus location and they have a downtown location. When I was a student, like many of my people who were students at Oregon, we hung out at the bookstore. They didn't have like coffee or cafe or chairs or anything, but we wandered around and lusted after the books. And I have a number of science fiction books on my shelf because of buying them at at Smith Family Books in Eugene. And so I went to the downtown location years and years ago, and it was just kind of all packed together and hard to find stuff. And I don't think they were in the same building back then, because this would have been like decades ago. I was not a student at that point, but I think it was probably, I don't know, it might have been around 2000. I think it was like after I came back to Oregon. And I came back to Oregon in 98 after leaving for about 12 years. So, anyway, they're in a big 2-story building. They don't have bathrooms, but they have an elevator to get to the 2nd story, and they have all sorts of stuff. And they do have piles and piles of books. When you first walk in to the bookstore, there's piles and piles of books that are just in boxes and stacked. And you kind of go past the piles, and then the collection starts. And I bought the book I'm going to show you now. My husband bought more books than I did, which is usually I'm the one that buys more. But they had a copy of Emma Condon, cross stitch with Catitude, 20 possum designs. And I saw this, I was like, ooh, cats, it's colorful, I love it. And so let me, I hadn't seen this one. I will not be ignored. That's Max. Willa's so quiet and tiny. She's a bit more easy to ignore. Oh, and then I saw this one after I purchased it. Boys Whatever, Cats Forever. And but there was one I basically took it off the shelf, and I didn't even look to see, oh, it's Emma Condon. And after I got home, I was like, yay, because I like her stuff. Okay, maybe I'll have to see if there's the contents. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the one I liked. Oh, here it is, page 34. I'm a normal cat lady. You're a crazy people person. That's me. Okay, that's me. That's my husband. Yeah, not sorry. Okay, so there's that. All right, so I'm gonna get into the whips because I got a lot of whips. Because so last time I showed you the list of I Spy prompts that Laura, which is Stitching by the Shore, does, and there's 10 prompts, and I basically took all my whips and I said which ones fit all the different prompts, and there can be some repeats, and you see the orange X's are how many I've actually completed every single whip that I picked for the prompt. Prompt number 1, I picked 3 whips, and only one of them has been touched. And I think I'm gonna maybe I'll touch the other 2 and complete it next week before the 31st. It's not done now. Only one of the 3 has been done. And then I have number 4, which was something that has been made into a Lego shape. I had 6 whips. There's a Teresa Wensler Castle. I will not be stitching on that yet, I think. I need to start it, but it's got a stain on one section that's sort of in the margin. It's not where the pattern is. And this thing is like, I don't know, 30-40% complete, so I don't want to restart it because it's huge. And I want to like finish it and give it to a friend, but I need to deal with that margin. And get it in some cold icy water, and then put some Dawn detergent. I think Dawn dishwashing liquid will work for taking that out. And I've had a few times that I've like taken some Dawn on a Q-tip for a spot on a piece of fabric, and it's taken it out, but I'm really cautious. Don't put much water on it. Just put a teeny bit of soap, you know, scrub it with the Q-tip, and then very, very carefully dab it with water. And that's really taken up, you know, in one example. I don't have too many dirt issues with my fabric. So then a project you've seen another stitcher stitch on either Flosstube or Instagram, a Halloween cat. And I think I said Helen D did Halloween cat, but I think it was Laura Stitching by the Shore did Halloween cat, because it's on her Halloween wall. So I'm gonna show that one, and because I worked on that one. The other one was the Snuggle is Real for the project that other Flosstubers have done. And that one I showed in the last video because I touched it and I set it aside. And something that starts with the letter A, that's completed prompt. I'll be showing those. I'll have to pause the video because neither one of them are sitting on the table here. Well, one of them sitting on the table. And then something that has been made into a Lego shape was prompt number 4, 6 whips. I am going to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of the 6 whips, I'm going to touch 5. So count be correct, I haven't touched yet, so I can't show it, but I will be stitching it on it tonight. Because I was going to do some other house organizing stuff this weekend, but I'm not. I'm just going to stitch and then go to a cross-stitch retreat tomorrow and stitch some more, and then come home and be exhausted. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be cleaning like crazy. Although I've done a lot of the deep cleaning, so it won't be too much crazy. So, because Stitch Group comes on Thursday night. Okay, number 5 was your newest start. I did that in the last video, which was the kitty calendar from Val's Stitching Stuff for October. Is the month, because it's a little calendar page for each month. And then 6, a color that starts with the letter B. Wee Santa I will show again, because that has blue in the Wee Santa. Crystal Ball, I'm gonna have to look at my, I'll be showing that, but that is another one that I need to get out when I empty the pile that's on the table right now. Festive Forest is another one I need to get out because I worked on that one. And Fish and Ships, which I think is right there. So, and Fish and Ships is also something that is made into a Lego shape because it's got sharks and whales and boats, and all of those things have been done as Lego models. Okay. Number 7 was something found in flavored tea. That was Rose from the Rose Sal, which is Emmeline Purnell, which is a Acorns and Threads exclusive. And Little Violet, which is the name of, that doesn't have anything to do with violets, but it's the name of the piece. But I thought, you know, maybe violets could be in tea. I'm not a big tea person, although since it's been cold, I've been drinking some tea that a friend gave me for Advent. This is green tea. It's ginger. I like that. I'm not a big tea person. I have my 1-a-day coffee, and black tea gives me acid reflux, so I have switched to green tea, and I can do green teas. So I have a bunch of different flavors of green teas, but I usually am not in the mood for tea. but since it's been cold weather, it's been nice. And then a project that you have intentions of finishing in 2026. All of those you've seen before, which was the red, white, and true piece that's at the finishers. That's by Sambry Stitches. Showed that in my last video. Santa 23, I'll show it again because I've made more progress on it. And the kitty calendar October piece from Val Stitching Stuff is, you've also seen that since I last filmed. And then a project somehow related to Australia. I think I might have showed that in the last video too, but I'll show it again because I touched it a second time for the third prompt. And then a project whose overall picture would make a good jigsaw puzzle. I have 3 things to show for that, and there is one piece in it. In this, I selected 4 of my whips. One piece I have not touched. I'm hoping, I've set up all the stuff on my table. I'm hoping I will stitch on it tonight. I have been counting stitching on different prompts. A single time if I stitch one night, 2 times if I stitch 2 different days or nights. So Totoro will count 1 time, and that will complete the 10th prompt. So that means I will have finished completely 100%, well, not 100%, I will have finished completely 80% of the prompts, and 5 out of 6 on another prompt, and 1 out of 3 on another prompt. And then hopefully I'll have some time this week before the 31st to touch One Snowman's Family, Totoro a second time, and then the castle. I might work on cleaning that and count that as a stitch day, but I don't think I'm going to stitch on it. So that's my progress on the I Spy Whip whip challenge, and I really kind of like it. You know, I have not wanted to gamify. I like having my deadlines and my spreadsheet, and I keep touching my new Garmin watch, and it was like pulsing at me. It was distracting. I'm sorry. So yeah, you know, I have my gifts and I have my deadlines for those, and you know, when I'm thinking, oh, it's getting into the new year, I better put my Acorns and Threads Smalls Exchange on here somewhere. And then, oh, I didn't start Jeanette Douglas on time. I was supposed to start it on Thursday with the group, and I didn't because I need to cut the fabric and get it serged, and so I feel like I'm going to be at least a week behind on that, but that's okay. So yeah, so the one thing that I really enjoyed hitting all those whips again, because I really enjoyed doing that in November, but I really have things that I need to finish, like We Santa, like the Smalls Exchange that I'm gonna do, which I haven't even started yet. The yeah, there's like, you know, the stuff I did for Jingle Ball, like the Jeanette Douglas ornaments that the single ornament needs to be done so it can be taken off the spreadsheet so I can add it again later when I do the 3 ornaments of hers. So yeah, so a lot of stuff that I need to again, great to make progress on all those, but I really need to focus on some of the smalls that I need to get done for gifts and for future events like Pinwis, if I can get in. I hope I can. And then tomorrow is the Gathering of Acorns and Threads mini retreat, which will be over by the time you see this video. And we don't know until we come in the door who the guest designer is. In fact, sometimes even after we come in the door, we don't know. The first year I went, I knew because they were attending remotely and their faces were on the screen, and I was like, you know, cross-stitch celebrities. And then last year, I saw a particular designer, and then they handed out the pattern, and I knew it was her, and I was just like about crying because I love her work. So I have no idea. And one of my friends, Sharon, who's in Indiana, got her kit. So she was like, you know, do you want a hint? And kind of teasing us. She said something, it's something you're going to like. That was her hint. And it's like, well, duh. Of course we're going to like it. You know, and then another friend, Tammy, speaks up. And Tammy goes, well, okay, it seems to be that each year they alternate between sampler-esque patterns and fun stuff. And she's like, last year with Will the Crow, it was fun stuff. The year before, and I said, what, you thought Fox and Rabbit's Gathering of Acorns was a sampler? Really? And everybody around me is going, of course it was a sampler, Robin. And then they're like, oh, I'm Jeanette Douglas's page 41 of her stitching album, which I had the book, you know, in hand, like other people, 2 or 3 other people at the table had the book in their little hot little hands. And they're like, yeah, the definition is on page 41. So I went to page 41 and I read the definition. And yeah, you could call the Fox and Rabbit thing a sampler. And, you know, and some people in our group are sampler stitchers and some people aren't. And I like to do both. I like the quote fun stuff or non-sampler things, more eclectic things. I have a wide palette of things I like to stitch. As long as I can fit color in there and avoid neutrals, I'm happy, you know. But anyway, so that's what we're thinking, and I will let you know what it is in this video later. All right, so the first big ass project that I'm going to be doing for our big ass project day with Salem Mary Stitchers, and I did do it on our big ass project day earlier this month, was Purple Pansy Angel. You show it. This is a Jan Lynn kit from 1995, and you know, this pattern is older than my PhD. So anyway, I got it because it was in a bin of sort of clearance reduced stuff in I think in Mindy's, which is a needlepoint shop in Eugene, and so I got it. I was like, I like all the pansies because I love pansies. Not too thrilled about the angels because that's not my thing, and but all the pansies. So, and it's a big fat snarl of flosses that I hate flosses, so it's like I don't want to work on it because it's just a big tangle. And I started bobbinating some things, but I probably won't get things bobbinated. I'm running out of my cardboard bobbins, and I asked Janine at Acorns and Threads about it, and she said they're getting to be hard to find, and the shop can't get them in. So anyway, so what did I make progress on this 12 by 16 piece? I made progress on this little pansy on the border, and I had only the bottom, that kind of peachy color at the bottom. That was the only thing I had done. And then I was looking at it and looking at the pattern and realized that I'd put the wrong color floss because I'd put a tweeted floss in when it should be a solid floss. And so I frogged it and I put in 5 more colors because these things are crazy amounts of color change. And so that little pansy is between the tweeted threads, which are not, I don't know if it's going to get any better with the, anyway, and I've also put in a few little things here and there at the top, which you can't tell. So I've kind of decided that I'm going to really focus on the bottom and going across to the other end of the border, so I can put the border on this side, because that's some fill-in I can do eventually. But each of these pansies are like, you know, 5 different colors with, or yeah, easily 5 or 6 different colors with tweeted threads, and a lot of these, if you look at it up close, there's spaces because there's going to be backstitch that's covering it, and so I don't like to do backstitch until I'm all done with everything, so that's going to be a long time in the future. I'm still plugging away. So this was the runner-up for the Big Girl Pants Challenge from 2 Tall Stitchers. Totoro, which is the piece I'm supposed to be working on tonight, and maybe a second time this week, that is my Big Girl Pants Challenge, which I have been avoiding like the plague, which I need to do my Big Girl Challenge. I need to put on the Big Girl Pants and do it. Every other part of my life, I've been putting the Big Girl Pants on and getting it done. Totoro, I just need to suck it up and do it. So, all right, so Purple Pansy Angel is on prompt 1 and prompt 10, and those are the only, that's the only project on those prompts. That's the only one on prompt 1 I've gotten done, and I've gotten everything but Totoro done on the last number 10. So, oh, and the other nice story is I was stitching Purple Pansy Angel last weekend. Last Saturday it was free stitch at the shop, and I don't know which way you'd see it best. Guess it doesn't matter. So I had this because it's a thread bed, and there's a lot of stuff in Purple Pansy Angel that, you know, you've used part of a thread, you have color changes, you take it off your needle and put on something else. So I have little bits of the thread in the thread bed, and so I have it sitting there on the table next to me. And a woman, what happens in the free stitch is we have a big, and this is not what happens at Gathering of Acorns tomorrow, but during free stitch we have this giant big rectangle of the square tables, and people sit around the rectangles and we all can talk across the room at each other. And so stitchers will like do a circle around the table to see what everybody else is working on, you know. And so this stitcher who is sitting like, you know, she was sitting on one end of the rectangle, and I'm sitting on another end, but not too far from me. So she gets up and she's starting to look at all the people's stuff, and she gets to my place and she goes, "I know that. I made that." And I'm like, "Ah, you gave this to me at Pinwist." And she's like, "Yeah." And this fabric, which, see, that's a better. So it's hard to see, but there's little gray, gold, like gold bits. There, you can see that on the leaf. There's gold, that's gold. And so this floral pattern was a bridesmaid dress, if I remember correctly, at her sister's wedding that she helped make. And so she had all this fabric in her stash. This is like from a wedding that happened 40 plus years ago. And so anyway, I'm happy. I think it's beautiful, and I picked it because of the ones that she showed me, of the ones she had left is by the time she got to my table, and everybody at my table was like off doing something or eating or something, and it was like this one was purple and pink, which I love, so I picked it, and I think it was the last one of this fabric in the ones she made, and she didn't make enough for everyone at Pinwist to get one, unfortunately, but I was happy, and several of my friends since then, even people who are sitting at my table or near me, have said, gosh, that's nice, where'd you get it? And I'm like, it was a table gift at Pinwist, and you know, sorry you missed out, you were like eating lunch, eating dinner, you know, when she walked past, but you know, and she told me she had run out of time, so she didn't get a chance to make enough for everybody. So I better put this back in the box where it goes, so it doesn't get separated. Okay, so prompt number 2, the one you haven't seen progress on, is Halloween Cat, and this is the one. Halloween Cat is Satsuma Street, and I am making the cats into Willow, Velveta, and Max. So this will not be a black cat, this will be a tuxedo cat, and I made more progress on his foot, so and this is stitched on the Purple Pansy Angel, by the way, is a piece of like ivory or white Ada that came with the kit. And so this is stitched on Napa 36 count linen by Mystic Fabrics. It was a fabric of the month, and beautiful purple fabric. And so, sorry, I have a little, this orange thread marks the center of the pattern, the center of the fabric, because the center of the fabric, because I started it in the middle, because I didn't quite know how big it was going to be. I kind of wish I'd started it on the corner, but oh well. So there is Max's foot and part of his ankle that is white, and then stitching the black part of his foot, you know, like his knee and thigh. So that's as far as I've got on Max, which is right, I started right down here, right his toe, which is in the center of the pattern, and then I been stitching here. I think, yeah, I think part of this is where the tail is too. His tail is completely black. So, all right, shove this into the project bag, which I'm not sure I'm going to continue to use after I finish this, because it is Star Trek, and it would go straight into my Star Trek collectible collection. All right, so the next one is something that starts with an A, and I can show you one, and then I'm going to have to pause to get the rest. So last year, Gathering of Acorns was Lola Crow, and I believe that this is no longer an exclusive, or it, I think it was an exclusive to Acorns and Threads, and I don't recall if that ended at the end of the year or a little bit before that. But this is Acorns and Friends, which is also Acorns and Threads Facebook for people to join and get information about events at Acorns and Threads and exclusives. And it's kind of like, you know, you can post stuff, I think, I'm not on any meta, so I don't really know how this works exactly. But anyway, so pro tip on this particular pattern. The called for, let's see, yes. So she stitched this, or her model stitcher stitched this on 36 count seafoam linen by Weeks, and that's what we got at the retreat. And this is a really tight weave, and so she stitched it with two threads, and I'm stitching it with 2 threads, and it's really tight. I'm still doing the grass at the very bottom. It's this very light colored grass at the very bottom. And you know, when I've done things like this, I kind of start at the bottom and just complete the rows and work my way up, and I don't do a lot of traveling. So I just filled in some more. I'd had a lot of half stitches. I filled those in. I still have one section right by my finger, which on one of those rows it's half stitches. You can see the texture is a bit different, and so that one I need to fill in. And then I'm really close to being done with that light green grass. And so I was having some issues because I felt like it was really tough to stitch on, and the stitches looked really full. And you know, and I said, I don't know if I like the way this looks. And so people have suggested to me that once I'm done with that light green grass, that I just start to just do 1/2, you know, 1/2 instead, to give it a different texture. And I will probably try a few stitches and decide if I like that, and then I will make my decision then before I do more. Okay, gotta run and get the Gathering of Acorns whip and make ooh, I gotta get a few others too, I think. That's the Festive Forest is right there. Fish and Ships is right there. Out There is right there. So I need Flamingool, and I need Gathering of Acorns. Yeah, I gotta get another bundle. And the cats have had their food, so they're not griping at me for filling up the table at the moment. So I will be right back. Okay, so it's sort of appropriate because Gathering of Acorns is this week, tomorrow, at least when I'm filming this. And I've shown the 2025 Gathering of Acorns exclusive. That was Acorns of Breads. This is the 2024 Gathering of Acorns exclusive, a Gathering of Acorns, Fox and Rabbit. It was a Nashville 2025 release. And so there's what it looks like. Trying to, yeah, give you a little look without the glare, without too much glare. And then I was having such a time with the mortar, which is this white, I think it's an eggshell actually, is the Weeks color. And so here, let's get that up. Yeah, it's a little bit more. So I had finished the roof minus the chimneys, and I started on the mortar, and I got really frustrated because, you know, I would do some, and then I would go over and do some more in another area, and it was just really kind of difficult, frustrating. And so I put it in this extended timeout, and then I picked it up and I whipped out this entire mortar in like just an hour or two at night when I picked it up. And I was like, oh, that's not too bad. And so then the next night I was like, okay, I'm going to do the stairs, and then I'm going to start filling in the bricks. So these bricks will be, they'll be the same color as the stairs and the roof, and they will also be, which is mascara, and then the campfire, which is the color of the brick, so they'll be red and black bricks of campfire and mascara. So that's that, and that was the something that starts with the letter A, prompt number 3, and I finished that prompt. So I finished the second prompt and the third prompt, and the first prompt probably will not, like I say, will probably not get finished completely with everything. I have stitched on Purple Pansy Angel, and I hopefully will stitch on Totoro. Maybe I'll pull out, you know, one snowman's family is right across from, on another table across from me, but maybe I'll pull it out. I'd like to. We'll see what happens next week. And okay, so fourth, something that has been made with into a Lego shape. So I'm just gonna pull them out in the order that I've written them. Count Be Correct by Jeanette Douglas I'm gonna work on tonight, so I can't show it. And so this is my dedicated Biscornu project bag, and I picked this narwhal Biscornu, which is like I call it Christmas Biscornu, or Christmas narwhal. This was, I bought this at Jingle Ball in 2024. Okay, so, that's such a pretty cute, it's like a pink. I have a red button I was going to use, so I might save that for a different Biscornu that I haven't started yet, but I think I have enough buttons for all 3 of these Biscornus. Okay, so I had a last time I showed you the border, and that was I had like this crafting meeting, and so this time I went up this side halfway and then put a tick in it, and then I went from the midway point where I stopped the last time, and then went this way and around the corner, and these are all half stitches that I need to complete, and I need to go to the corner, which is about there, I think. And I realized after I did this that I was supposed to do a back stitch, but I did a full cross stitch, and that's okay, because I have instructions when I went to Beth Twist's Biscornu finishing class. I have instructions on what to do if I have a full cross stitch border versus a half stitch border, and they're basically the same kind of a stitch together activity that you do. So, and I have in my dedicated Biscornu bag, I have her written instructions with pictures. So yay! All right, so, you know, again, kind of boring. I like to get my borders in so I can, because then once I have my borders, then I can start filling in the middles, and I don't have to count so much with the stuff in the middle, as long as the borders are the correct count. So, and in here, so because this is my dedicated Biscornu thing, I do have a picture, or I do have the rest of, oops, went straight into the trash can, needles. These are, these are, I was looking for these. They need to go in my stitching bag. Okay, put those away for tomorrow. I knew I had bought some 22 count needles. And I went to work on something that was like a big 8 a piece, and I'm like, why don't I have a 20 2-count needle. I bought some. So anyway, okay. So the other thing I was just going to show you is in my dedicated Biscornu, my third Biscornu that I work on will be Heartstring Samplery Flandersfield Biscornu, and this one doesn't have a button. It has, it basically has a cross-stitch pattern where the middle divot is. So which you can see there, that's not a button, that's kind of where the stitches are, and then you go straight through the stitches. And so I can't use the button for this, even though the color would match. So anyway, I was going to do it again. This is the Atomic Ranch Vapors, and you can kind of see the modeling there. It's very faint. I've seen, this is Lugana, so Lugana doesn't take up the dye. I've seen other Ada and Linen in this dye, and it's a lot more gray mottled in those other fabrics than it is with the Lugana. But I think this is a great neutral, you know, like I say, it's just barely not white. And so the Flanders Field was originally done on Weeks Gray. And so when I was showing a friend that, you know, that, hey, I'm going to work on this and I'm going to use this, and they were like, oh, that would work perfectly. So, you know, again, there are no cross-stitch police, and you can work on what works for you. And a lot of times I absolutely almost never use, unless it's a kit or something I got at a retreat, I almost never use called for fabrics because I don't have them, and or I like something better. And I like something better. It should be not just or, it should be yes and. So, okay, so that would be prompt number 4, something that's been made into a Lego shape. Narwhals, I did not see a Lego narwhal, but I saw other whales that were Legos, so I thought I'll fudge that one a little. Okay, the next thing for this prompt is Out There by Heartstring Samplery, and this is her Christmas ornaments that are all science fiction related. And I'm stitching Seek, which is a Enterprise yeah, I can't really tell. I can't tell from this picture if it's Constitution class or just the next gen. Forget what they call that in next gen. I'm not I'm not a spaceship nerd. I'm only a Trek nerd. So so I haven't got very far on it, and I'm stitching it on Lap-In Loops Tea Earl Grey Hot, or green tea not hot anymore. And this is 36 count, a big lovely piece. This will be, I'm going to do all 4 ornaments on my Tea Earl Grey Hot, and which is not the wild blue called for, but it's Lap-In Loops are total science fiction nerds too, and Tea Earl Grey Hot is Captain Jean-Luc Picard's tagline, or one of them, and so it's only appropriate to do science fiction, especially a starship from Star Trek on Tea Earl Grey Hot. Maybe I will do, maybe I will do the X-Files Believe one on more of a cerulean blue, which is one of their fabrics based on an X-Files episode. Their fabrics are all named, or most of them are named by science fiction references, like cerulean blue, small potatoes. I'd have to look again at their list, but there's lots of Star Trek and X-Files and other science fiction references. Oops, I put the pattern back in here. And I realized as I was looking about the room, trying to put things away, the colors in the pattern for this are like sitting over on the table, which I need to add to this project bag. So, okay, then, so that's 2, and then I'll find it right here. This is another Lap and Loose fabric, Medusa's Gaze, which I think is gorgeous. It was a, I can't remember if it was, I think it was a 2024 Nashville release. And my friend Tammy had grabbed some up at the Nashville days at Acorns with Threads, and we were stitching together, and I was like, oh, that's a gorgeous piece of fabric. And she's like, yeah, I got it at Nashville recently. So I hot-footed it back to the shop that next Saturday and picked up a giant piece of it, like all that was left actually, because Tammy buys more like, I think, kind of what she thinks she needs at the time. Sometimes if I see something, I just get the whole lot. But I'm trying to ease back on that to save money this year. So Flamingool is a Nashville 2023 release from Art Designs. And she has a brick and mortar shop, I think in Maryland, and you can get stuff also online. And so this is a Flamingools. It's like a zombie flamingo with all sorts of creepy stuff around it. And so I thought it would look great on, I was trying to see what, I don't know if I know what she stitched it on, but anyway, again, I'm sorry I'm so boring, but I am stitching the border. This is like the bottom of the border, and I put an extra stitch there, so it will be like a little, as we call it, not an error, it's personalization. And then I worked on the purple going up this border, so I do need to count. It is 71 stitches across, but it's 111 high. So I do need to eventually start counting the upright vertical border. So, and Medusa's Gaze, of course, Medusa from Greek legend. So, let me see if I can get my fabric folded up, kind of. So it's, oh, that's my problem. I need to fold it in half that way, and then that way, and then, ta-da. Okay, and this is one that I'm doing some of the DMC called for, but I'm also doing a lot of stuff that I picked up at Nashville 2023. So, and look, the purple on the border is like a specialty stitch, like over dyed, that I can't tell you what it is because it was something that was like limited edition, I think. So, okay, then the next thing in prompt 4 of what has been made into a Lego shape is fish and ships. And I really am happy. I've made substantial progress on this. And so Fish and Ships is a long dog sampler, and it is 187 by 212. And I can't tell you if it's the biggest one, the biggest piece I'm working on, because I don't know the stitch count for the Janling kit, and the roses cell may be maybe about the same size, maybe a little smaller. So anyway, so there is a Lego shape of a whale like this. There are ships. Let's try to see if there was any sharks. I thought maybe there was a shark in here. I guess there is not a shark in here. Yeah. So, lots of nautical things. There's an egret right there at the end of the tail. So, yeah. And like ships, you know, and I'm pretty sure they've done some ships in Lego. All right. So, I am stitching this on 40 count, which is Pacific Metallic Blue. It is linen, Newcastle linen, is what they call 40 count by Zweigart. And what I did was I purchased a bunch of really cheap needles from Acorns and Threads, and I was using them as counting pins and counting every 25 stitches, because 187 is a long way across. And I didn't quite get this centered in the middle of my fabric. And then when I was stitching it, it looks crooked, but I think it was cut crooked. So it's not, so it's about a 2-inch margin on this side. It's going to be a lot more margin there and a lot more margin and a lot less right there, unfortunately. But yeah. And the thing is I only have a very, it's 13 by 18 inches, and this thing is going to be something like, I don't think it's going to fill up a lot of that space. So the exciting thing is I got to 187 stitches. That's from the back. So this is the bottom. The bottom 187 stitches, and I am about halfway full crosses on the bottom line, because this is the border is 2 rows of cross stitch, and so I'm just happy I have the bottom border is the correct length, and then I can fill in the stitches, and then I can start, and I can, yeah, fill in the full cross stitches on the remaining 2 lines, and then I can start working on these fish. So, and then I can start working on going up, and I can also work on the bubbles or whatever this, I thought it was like bubbles coming out of the fish. It looks like it's bubbles coming out of the fish. So I can work on this 3rd inner border there, which is not on the bottom, but it is on the top. So anyway, so that was exciting, because it was like, yay, I went to 187 and I counted it correctly. And so that's important. These big samplers that are so big, and you need to contain all your stuff. So Fish and Ships is on prompt 4, which is the Lego shape. It is also prompt 6, which is a color that starts with B, and this is Pacific Metallic Blue, so that's my B. Okay, and then I keep wanting to pick up something that's not in its project bag. Oh, so let's see. So I did that 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 out of the 6 whips for prompt number 4, something made out of Legos. And you've seen prompt 5, which was work on your newest start, which was Kitty Calendar. 6 is a color that starts with the letter B. You just saw fish and ships. And then you're going to see, like, oh, crystal ball, which is right here. And then I'll have to take a short break to remove the pile that's building up on this chair next to me, and so I can get some stuff from the table across from me to finish out these whips. And so, crystal ball, which is Tiny Modernist, and I guess I will put a picture of it because I don't keep the pattern in the project bag. I keep it like on a pile over there. So anyway, this is a crystal ball that was a Sal, and I got it when it came out. So I got the pieces as they were released. And so this black is the crystal ball outline, and you know, I thought it was cool and it looked neat, and that was in 22. I'd never done anything like that. I'd never worked on Lugana. And later, like just last year, somebody said to me, oh, stitching circle, like a circle outline, that's hard. I'm like, yeah, it has been hard. And I know I've still messed up on stuff, but I'm trying to make sure that the stuff I mess up on is, I can still count to the right amount, but I think it's off. But I'm not going to fix it. I mean, it's going to be what it is. It's going to be fixed down below somehow. So, because what will be in the crystal ball, I don't think will be messed up. What is outside the crystal ball can be shifted a bit. And so I worked a little bit more on the stem and the leaves, and I worked a little bit, like another inch or so of black crystal ball, and was enough. You know, I like this piece in some ways, but it's not easy. So I did 5 whips on MLK. I just stayed home and stitched. There were some things I could have done, but I was like, nope, I'm just gonna stay home and relax and stitch. And so that's what I did. And trying to get this in without like wrinkling everything. And it's a little bit smaller project bag than I probably should have picked for this piece. Okay. And one of the needles is at the very top there, so I'm trying not to poke myself. All right. Yeah. And then, let's see. So, Festive Forest. Let me grab that. Okay. So this was one that I was like, hey, not all color that starts with B's need to be brown, black, and blue. They can be burgundy. So there's the picture of the muffin, which is what I've always said is a biscornu and a drum have a baby. And so this is on Live and Die LA Winter in My Heart, which is a lovely blue mottled fabric. And then there's my burgundy flower, and I actually still have some stitching to do in the flower. However, I stitched the middle, which is green. Never get the and I stitched the stem, which it looks like the rabbit is pooping the stem, but it's really just the stem. And I'm hoping that once I get things stitched, it will look less like the rabbit pooping. So, oops. So that is what I accomplished with Festive Forest. And We Santa I will show next, but I need to stop the video again and go to the next table to grab it and put away some of this stuff in between this impromptu almost a whip parade. So back in a sec. Okay, so We Santa 23 by is it Heart and Hand Designs, or Heart and Hand needle art. There is the tiny Santa, and I am maybe 50%. It's hard to say what it looks like. I'm really close. I have a big flower to finish right here. I got to finish the rest of his head and his little hat, and then there's a flower over here and another small flower and stem over here, and there's a stem that goes down, and then there's a big flower that goes right there. So in terms of stitching, this is probably at least 50%, maybe 60% done. But those flowers, the stems aren't bad, but the flowers do some, you got to do some counting. And the big flower I kind of messed up on his shoulder, and it's good enough, you know, but and I really wanted to finish this by this time, but I didn't get to it, partly because I was doing all those other whips. So that is the problem for me and my deadlines and this whip challenge. So, you know, next time I think I may not make it such a big challenge of doing every whip that meets the prompt, but maybe picking one whip that meets one of the prompts. So I'll have 10 whips instead of 21 whips. Out of the 28 I had when I started January 1st, I finished one of those whips. I have 27 whips left. I'm going to have 28 again tomorrow, because I'm going to start the thing from Gathering of Acorns, and then Jeanette Douglas is going to get started sometime in the next 10 days. So that'll be 29 whips. So, all right. So finally, let's see. Prompt number 7 is something found in flavored tea, and this is the Rose Sal, or Rose's Sal, that's exclusive with Acorns and Threads, Hands Across the Sea, Emmeline Purnell, and I started in the left-hand corner, and so I am working. I did a couple things up here, but I'm basically working left to right. And so what I do each time that I pick it up is I try to do a leaf or a set of flowers, or a big flower. And this is on 36 count atypical. So we got the lovely sort of neutral gold and rose modeling. This is Mystic Fabric, and the flower that I did last night is this one, or not last night, I did it on a week ago Thursday, was this one right here. Is it that one? Or am I holding wrong? Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm holding it wrong. It is, that is the border that goes up, and then this is the border that goes left to right, and I finished this leaf. Why am I holding it? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, it's this leaf. It's this upper leaf, because this is the rest of the this is the rest. So going left to right, this upper leaf is what I finished with this bit of a stem. So not too much, but I mean, each time that I pick it up, I try to do a leaf or a big flower or a set of little flowers on the border. So, because it's silk and it's 1/2, and it's not how I normally stitch, so it's fun, it's challenging. I really love working with silk, and I never worked with silk until this last 2025, and so I really like it, but it's challenging. You know, it's slick and it shears, and I haven't had any problem with, and it stretches. I haven't had any problem with the shearing, but sometimes I can tell if I'm stretching too much, and it's slick, so it slips out of the needle, and you have to rethread your needle. And so I bought 4 of those needle dome needle cases where you can thread like up to 10 needles with the same floss, and then just pull out one, stitch, 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 finish the floss off that one, pull out another one, and then you aren't constantly having to rethread needles. So I want to do that for this piece, but I haven't yet. And then the other one is also a silk piece. Let me grab it again. Okay, so this is Little Violet. This is Susan Stanley, I'm sorry. She came and taught this class at Acorns and Threads in October, I think it was October of 2025. And this is Berlin work, which was very popular in the Victorian era, and basically it was popular enough it kind of spread globally. And so I started working, I kind of picked an area which had a lot of one particular color, and then started in that area, and it was close to the middle. And so, and this is a Voidus, I don't speak French. A Versois, yeah, a Versois is, and that's what I'm stitching it with. And so I have all the spools of that, and I finished, this is at the very bottom of the piece where the skirt has those brown, the darker brown, and then there's a little bit of blue at the very, very bottom of this. And what you see in this picture has the edge of the pattern has been cut off by the frame. So you're not seeing the, oop, hey Max. He's like, how do I get to my food? So I'll move that, honey. So yeah, so this I'm down here, but this is sort of at the edge of where the frame cut off the pattern. And you can get this pattern, I mean, you can get this frame at Amazon. I'm not sure I want to get it I'm not going to get it at Amazon, but that's was used in this for the finish. And so, like I say, I've started at the middle, and have worked on this brown, and I finished the thread of brown silk that I had. Now I'm working on my blue, and you know, so, or I can pick up another sort of reddish brown color to fill in these gaps. That'll be the next thing I pick up. But this is not something I work on every day. This is on 38 count Teasels. My spreadsheet. Susan Stanley's class, Fuller's Teasel, which is basically unavailable. It's like a legacy linen that you just can't get. So, I mean, it was sourced for the class. So, but you can still do, you know, you can still do these Berlin work pieces. There's a number of free patterns around, and you can find some neutral linens of, you know, I don't know about 38 count, but 40 count for sure to do these silk pieces on. I was really happy to finish that brown section because I had to frog it a couple, I mean, I had to restitch it and frog it a couple times. So, okay, so next, I had to move some stuff and I covered it up. So that basically was Something Found in Flavored Tea was the Rose Sal and the Little Violet. Little Violet's also in prompt 10. So I've stitched on it 2 days. And then a project you have intentions of finishing in 2026. Those were all ones that you saw in my last Flosstube. And a project somehow related to Australia, you saw that earlier. That's A Gathering of Acorns, which was designed by Fox and Rabbit, who were the guest designers for the Gathering of Acorns mini retreat in 2024. And then number 10, a project whose overall picture would make a good jigsaw puzzle. Well, I showed you Little Violet, and that would make a really good jigsaw puzzle. Purple Pansy Angel, I think, would also make a really good jigsaw puzzle because of all the ways the colors are all shifting so many times. Totoro, which I still hope to work on tonight. And the last thing I worked on is Kitten Reflections. There's what I stitched, and what I got done was this dark half stitches of this dark olive right there, and no other colors. That was enough. And so let me show you the picture. It's in my little Oregon duck pouch that my mom made for me several years ago. So this is a Dimensions Gold Petite, and this is Kitten Reflections, and I love it. And you know, I'm working at the bottom and I've gone all the way across, and so I'm working up to where it gets to the fish, and then the rock and the kittens, and then all the flowers. And so I had not stitched on this for, I think, 19 years. Yeah, because I had remembered I'd stitched on it in 2006, but I don't recall stitching on it after 2006. And I loved it. Well, I'm not sure I loved it then, but I really love it now, if that makes sense. So anyway, so that's the whips. And we've already gone through the curated cross stitch collection, of which there was none but the book, and we went through the giveaway, which just put the word plum, P-L-U-M, and the next part will be the recap of the retreat. Hi, this is Robin the Gem Stitcher, and it is Sunday, gosh, what day is it? January 25th, and this is my last segment of my Flosstube channel, and I just came back an hour or so ago from the Acorn Gathering, and so as I was clearing out my shopping bag to go to Acorns and Threads today, I realized there were two things in my shopping bag that I didn't share. I don't believe I shared in the last video, and that was I picked up a copy of Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine, with a lot of good things. And sorry, my spouse started to like laugh out loud and realized, oh no, she's filming. So it's just happy sounds. And then I had a piece of Belfast linen, which that's 32 count is Belfast linen. This is Swigart, and it's natural opal. I don't, apologies if I showed this in the last video. So I have a piece of gold with a piece of natural linen with gold flecks, and I was gonna stitch Christmas on that, and then I saw this and I thought this would go good for Christmas too. So anyway, a couple things for Curated Cross Stitch Collection that I think I missed showing you. So today was the Acorn Gathering. It was a very fun, joyful event. Lots of faces that I have seen for a while. And so this is the 30th anniversary year for Acorns and Threads. And Roz, the original owner, Acorns and Threads has been in business for 30 years. Roz was there, who was the original owner, and then Janine, of course. And they talked about Acorns and Threads opening and how the shop got its name. And you know, back in the day when we had yellow pages, you wanted to name your business with an A because it would be the first one people would see as they're reading the yellow pages to find a business to go do or buy whatever they needed. And so, and had heard this before when I was like selling health insurance at one point. And so so Acorns had already been taken by somebody, and so Roz was on the phone with the state, like Consumer and Business Department of Consumer and Business Services, I think is the big department. Then that handles business licensing and labor stuff for our state, and so she's on the phone, and you know, you talk to a person on the phone, you may be on hold for a really long time. So she was like, I want it to be Acorns, and they're like, well, that name's been taken. And she's like, Acorns and Threads, just kind of like spur of the moment, you know. And she told this very lovely story about that a few like a couple years, not that long, but a couple years before she started the business in 1996 that became Acorns and Threads, she her mom had passed, and she had gotten these acorn salt and pepper shakers, and she was thinking about the business, and she was like thinking about, well, she liked acorns or she liked amethyst. And then she remembered, oh yeah, people are writing checks, I'm gonna have to spell amethyst. I can't even say it right. Amethyst, which is lovely purple gemstone. I know how to spell it, but but a lot of people, it's one that you would kind of struggle with because there's like a Y, it's an M and a TH, and it's not an easy word to spell. So so that's how the shop came to be called Acorns and Threads. And then, you know, a few years later, Roz retired from the business, and Janine bought it. And so the original retreat was the Gathering of Nuts, and I've still heard that name, but it's not the official name anymore. And back in the day, they used to have this mini retreat on a Saturday from 6 to midnight. And some people would be wearing their pajamas. I mean, that just sounds so much fun. But, you know, as customers started to get older, and it's in January, and, you know, there's bad weather, so it kind of shifted more to a daytime. And so now it's on Sundays, the last Sunday in January, and the space is limited. I think they have 100 people on Zoom, but they can only fit 50 people into the annex. And back in the day, they didn't have the annex space rented. So it was in their old location, which I'm not sure if that was in the same building that they're in now, but a much smaller space. And so they would have to clear everything out to have space for tables and people, and then put all that stuff back in to conduct their business. So they would shut the shop down, you know, then at 4 or 5, and then move the stuff, get the people in, do the thing, and then move all the stuff back so they could open up the business again, probably for a couple days later, if they were doing it on Saturday night, because that Saturday night is the last day of the week the business is normally open. So anyway, so I got 2 acorns and threads. I got my pattern, and I'm going to show it in a minute. And then while I was really just kind of hanging out and going to different tables and socializing with different friends and having conversations with people, not really stitching, but I saw this family group that I don't really know them that well, and I need to make a point of, like, you know, talking to them when I see them in the shop. And because apparently they've been coming for 30 years. They were part of the original Gathering of Nuts retreats back in the day. And so one of them had this giant, like, bunches of colorful fabric, and they were all Atomic Ranch. And I'm like, what is this? Did they bring their stash and they're trying to figure out what to do their pattern on? And so I went up and I said, and I kind of was like, I don't know what I said or if I just looked kind of curious. And they said, oh, Atomic Ranch is having a trunk show in the shop. And I'm like, oh, like what? Like, this was, you know, Janine's little plan to have us spend our money, which Atomic Ranch is my favorite fabric designer. It's like, darn it. So I went next door, and I was looking at the table with all the stuff from Atomic Ranch as people were, you know, grabbing stuff, and I'm like, okay, I have this at home, I have this at home, I have this at home, and then I'm like, oh, but I don't have this at home, and this is Fox, like Guy Fawkes. Somebody asked me, what does that mean? They'd seen it before, and I'm like, well, Guy Fawkes is a folk hero person, and it's a festival in England, and, you know, they can wiki the rest. I'm not, you know, I'm not an expert on English folk heroes and folk festivals, but anyway, so this is, I guess I should say what it is. It is 32 count linen. Yes, 32 count linen, and it really looks a lot like the Joy Lin. It's a little brighter with a lighter modeling, and a little orangier. And, you know, I got to admit, I just have a fetish for orange fabric. I don't know why. I just always want to buy it. And I can think of several things that will go on that. So I've got one thing that I'm doing Joy Lin instead of Weeks. The Aztec Red, I'm doing Joy Lin instead. I think Joy Lin. And then I got something that I think calls for Joy Lin, and I'm like, okay, that might work for that. So, and then someone else was looking at a big, huge piece of this red currant, which is also 36 count linen. And I was like, oh, and she had the whole swatch of fabric, you know, and I'm like, are you gonna buy all that? And she's like, no, I'm gonna have them cut it in half. And I'm like, oh, can I buy the other half? And she's like, yeah, Robin. Somebody I know, a stitchy friend. And so she took it up to the table, and later, you know, when I was up at the counter, they're like, you wanted this, right? And I'm like, yes, I do. And so anyway, red currant. I did buy at Pinwis, they had Atomic Ranch, and they had a raspberry swirl, and it was a little darker than this. This is, you can't really, it's got a lot of lighter modeling in it. So it's definitely a little bit lighter with the modeling. Finally, 28 count linen, which is a little lower count than I usually go for, but this is Pumpkin King. I have at least 2, if not 3 patterns which call for, I have 2 patterns that call for Pumpkin King. And one of them, I actually was going to use Prank instead, which is a different dyer, but yeah, 28 count linen. But I do still have the one thing that calls for Pumpkin King, and then, like I say, I might have a 3rd pattern that calls for Pumpkin King. So I'm like, for such a weird, orange and dark modeling fabric, it's called for in some designer patterns. So I think I needed it. All right, and then let's go on to the exclusive. So today's guest designer, it's always a surprise, and Janine was talking to a few of us about this year. She had this needlework press thing they're working on with patterns and designers, and then they've got this, then they had the Acorn Gathering mini retreat, and so she was kind of like saying that she was like having to really think about, okay, I can say this, but I can't say anything about that, being very specific about what she was saying. So maximum cross stitch, which is Ellen Reed's, she is with the Crash Test Dummies, which is a Canadian rock band. I had heard about her being a cross stitcher a couple years ago, but I didn't know she is actually maximum cross stitch. It says our designs go to 11. Okay, this is from Spinal Tap, one of Rob Reiner's first directorial movies. You gotta see it. But it goes to 11, that tagline for the movie, I use it a lot at home and with friends, okay? And I was explaining I'm in my 60s, I was explaining to a boomer in her 70s who had never seen that movie why she needed to watch it, and that if she wanted to watch it, I would come to her house, which is 50 minutes for me. I said, I would come to your house and watch it with you. And she says, I might take you up on that. That would be fine. So anyway, this is called Acorn Manor, and it is stitched on, it was Cedar River Pyrite, and I decided to go instead of the 36 count linen, I decided to go with, I don't want to poke myself, with the Ada version. And so I started on the border, didn't get very far because I wasn't stitching too much today, but these counting pins are 25 stitches apart. And so, this, the stitch count is, well over 100 on the bottom, just very similar to the fish and chips sampler I was working on and finally finished the stitches along the bottom border. This border is a lot simpler, and it's just a single line, and so I was like, I'm just gonna stitch on the border, and these counting pins I got 3 counting pins, and they were from my stitchy friend Elise, who's with Sailor Mary Stitchers, and runs our Facebook, the Sailor Mary Stitchers, or Sailor Mary Stitchers, I think without the. So anyway, that is the retreat. I had a great time. Welcome to anyone who subscribed. I had a couple people that got to know me and were saying they were subscribing, so welcome. And feel free to add comments. Share your experience if you were there. And trying to think of anything else, but I think that's it. And I know this is 16 minutes now, and my other earlier part of the video is a lot longer, and I'm going to try to edit some of it. So thank you, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.